Hi folks, this is Doron and I'm here to show you today a game called Core World, which is a deck building game, which means you start with a small deck of cards and you have the option to increase and add more powerful cards to help you basically strategize better and win a game. So that's basically what's a deck building game, but it will make more sense during me showing you the game. Now, I must emphasize that I don't intend on showing all the rules, just overall idea of the game so you know what it is. I might mess up with some of the rules, let me know in the comments, but again, this is just to give you an idea of what the game is. If you decide to purchase it, it will give you a great idea. So basically the theme of the game is that you're playing barbarians. It's a game from 2 to 5 players. I have it set up for 2 players at the moment. And the setup is probably slightly different, depends on the number of players. So what you're in a galactic, ancient galactic realm, and playing as barbarians, and the idea is to take over the whole galaxy, starting with outdoor sectors and reaching to the inner sectors, the stronger ones, the core worlds that basically control all the galaxy. And what it is, each sector, there are several sectors that are being represented by decks, that from these decks you will reveal a certain number of cards, and I believe it's 6 cards for 2 players, and I'll get to that in just a moment. Now each player has a certain setup. They start with their own deck and a hand of 6 that I'm showing revealed here just for sake of understanding, as well as you start with a home world. Obviously you come from a certain world and this is your world, it's your starting, and I believe that every player starts with the same exact type ability of a world. So what's going on in this game is that on this board you have an indication of the number of actions that you are permitted to play in a round, as well as energy token, energy points here, that with them you can perform certain actions. Once you run out of energy, might as well probably pass. Now, once all player pass, you move on to another sector. So I'll dive into actually showing the game. It will make more sense. Now, one more thing that I actually think I should mention. This game is based on victory points. So at the end of the game, whomever has more points than the rest obviously wins the game. Now it's important to mention that in the last deck, in the Core Worlds deck, the most valuable cards are those that will give you the highest victory points based on certain criteria, such as different types of cards that you have, or anything else. And for that matter, your board here shows you the number of each card that is in the last deck, so you can strategize accordingly. Each card that you will acquire requires a certain infantry and a certain fleet numbers to be able to acquire attack. So on your turn, this is what you do. There's a phase summary. You draw. That's a draw phase where you take up to 6 cards into your hand. Then there's an energy phase, and I'll get into that into more detail. Then there's a galactic phase, action phase, discard phase, and the end phase. So basically, the first phase we already done, which is the draw phase. Obviously, that's the first turn. The energy phase, what it means, any card that you have, any world cards that you have or you conquered, has a certain number on the top left. In this case, everybody starts with 3, and that's how many energy points you get to use at the start of the game. So that would be the energy phase, and basically during the game you'll deplete your energy points. The energy phase tells you basically count how many energies you have, and that's how many you get. Also, some cards will give you the ability to increase your energy based on certain criteria. I'm not going to get into that, but you'll get the point once you start playing the game, if you find this game attractive enough to get. It's a pretty good game, by the way. Alright, so after the energy phase, we're going to the galactic phase. The galactic phase is basically revealing the cards from each deck. There's a round marker here that after each round we progress it. So the first round, second round, we're going to keep revealing from this deck. Which logically, the farthest the deck is from the last deck, these are easier cards to acquire. Once you're done with the second run, you move to the third deck and you start depleting, or not depleting, revealing cards from there. So the Galactic Phase is we're going to take cards out up to 6. Now there's a certain rule which I wasn't planning on covering, but I'll just mention that you need to have at least as many world cards and as many as non-world cards as there are players. Otherwise you need to redraw or something like that, but again, I'm not going to get into too much detail. Now, in this case, there are 6 cards, and we're moving into the action phase. Now, the first player has a starting player token, where on the next round it moves on to the next player. I'm not going to show that. Let's imagine that this player is the first. So, in the action phase, there are several things you can do. You can draft a card, which means you can acquire one of these cards to be able to put into your deck, so later on you can reveal it and actually utilize that. And in order to acquire, for example, this card, it will be worth it. There is a cost of 1 energy token. And then, just for you to know, in order to deploy this card, and I'll show it later, this would be the cost of energy. The number in red is the victory points that this card will give you later on. Now, these are, since I'm already showing, these are the power of this card when I use it to invade worlds, which again I'll show you later. It has 2 infantry power and 0 a fleet, I guess that's what it calls, like air attack, space attack, using Star Cruiser, etc. like that. It will make more sense shortly. Let me just refocus here. Making sure it's focused. There you go. So that's one thing you can do. You can draft. Another thing you can do is deploy. You take cards from your hand to help you conquer worlds. Deploying is taking cards from here, put them there here. This is an unreveal. It's a hidden hand of cards that you hold, and obviously for sake of for the purpose of this game, I'm showing it obviously revealed. So once you deploy cards here, they stay here until you use them to invade. The next thing you can do is invade. Obviously use these cards to take over some worlds. And the other option is as an action ability. There are some cards giving you a certain ability that you can utilize. And the last action is passing, and once everybody passes, then the round is over. So let's just use something, let's do something here just to show. Alright, let's imagine that I would like to deploy cards. So let's say I have these 2 cards. For whatever reason I would like to deploy them, and these are basically fleet, and I'm not going to focus here, but as you can see, each one gives me 1 power of fleet, which in that case, if there's a world that requires only 2 fleet to be able to invade into, I'll be able to use these guys. Now, in order to deploy these, to get them ready, to prep them for an invasion, I have to pay their energy cost, which will be 2. I put them down. My turn is over. The turn moves to the next player. Oh, one thing I didn't mention. Every action that you do costs you 1 action. So that's easy, at least for me, to forget. Now it's this player's turn. And what they're going to do, they will, for the sake of showing, they will acquire a card. So they use 1 action. They pay the cost of 1 by energy. And this card goes into the discard pile. Once this deck is depleted, you will shuffle your discard pile, put it back here, and draw up to 6 again. So this guy's turn is over. Now let's see, what else can we do here? Now you don't have a limit on how many you can deploy at once, and I probably should have done a better job doing that, but I will, let's say, where are you? Well, I don't have a card that I can do that. Can do anything, but let's pretend that I have enough cards to attack a world. For example, this one. Oh, let's see what I have. Oh, I do have it. So I'm going to use another card here to prep it, and again, I should have done it at the same time I've done that, but let's say I messed up. That's okay. Now this guy moves on, and let's say that they're gonna deploy. Okay, so this guy has only 2 energies available left, so that means for each card you have to pay a cost, so they can do only 2. Hope that makes sense. They pay 2. And this guy has 2 more actions left. However, without energy, there's nothing much they can do, so most likely we'll have to pass. Now it's this player's turn, and what they're gonna do, they're gonna invade. I'm gonna show you an invade. So invasion costs you 1 action plus 1 energy. Let me double check here. Yes, so I'm paying 1 action, 1 energy, and I'm gonna take over this card. Now this card is a world card, just similar to where is it? There you go. One more time. Good. So a world card. This one, for example, this number tells you which deck it comes from. There's 3 fleet that you need to use in order to invade to this world and acquire the card, and 0 infantry. And this here is how much energy you will get from this card during the energy phase, which is pretty important during the game you're flying out. And this is how many victory points you get. So the way that we do, let's refocus again here. Alright, so I decide to invade. I think I already paid for that. I'm using these, put them in the discard pile, grab this card, put it here. And so on, and you go so on. Let me see if there's anything more important I need to show. That's really the basics of the mechanic. What's important is for strategies to try and build up your deck, to make it stronger, acquire more cards. There are pretty good cards with pretty good abilities that can really help you. Now, once everybody passes, that's something that I probably should mention. Obviously, there's no more energy, and I doubt there are any actions that you can do with no energy. So basically, you go to the discard phase after the action phase, which what it does, you discard your hand and take up to 6 more. However, the game gives you the ability to choose one of the cards and keep them in your hand, and then just draw 5 more up to 6. So that would be your discard phase. And the end phase, part of the end phase is like any cards that remain on here, we apply energy tokens to. And then what that means is that they remain here, and after we reveal, we move to the next round and we reveal up to 6. These cards, when we acquire them, we get an extra energy token that we're like upgrading an energy area. Now, if there are any cards with energy tokens that were not taken during the game, once the round is over, these cards are basically going to a discard pile and are not remaining in the what's called the war zone. So this is really the basics of the game. Again, I haven't covered everything, but this is, I think, it's a good enough walkthrough to give you an idea how this game works. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it. I'll appreciate if you subscribe, and remember, sharing is caring. Thank you for watching.